Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. You are joining me today for episode 20 of Let's Talk Immigration. Um, Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is happening in our firm, what is happening in the immigration world generally, and then we'll go to Q&A. Okay, so if you have questions, we answer them in order. So especially on Facebook, YouTube, and Telegram are the places to submit questions. Nobody's looking at Twitter at the moment. So if you have a question, go to YouTube, Facebook, or Telegram and submit your question there. First thing I want to talk about today is the visa bulletin has been released for April. And it's got some people that are disappointed, of course, like the visa bulletin generally does. So this is the March. This is the current visa bulletin. This is the upcoming visa bulletin, which gives, which is what was just released. So if we go to the April 2023 visa bulletin, the shocker today is F2A category. Let me make this to where it's actually like big enough to read. For F2A category, that's this line right here. F2A, spouses and children of permanent residents, green card holders, okay? Their petitions were current, meaning the visa bulletin was not an obstacle. But now, for all countries, those petitions are not current. So even if your I-130 was approved, in Chart A now, those petitions are not current. Now, if you are in the U.S. and you are adjusting status, this is different than if you are at a consulate and seeking a visa appointment abroad at a consulate. So contact an immigration attorney if you want detailed advice about how this affects your individual case. But I will tell you this, there are thousands of green card holders and their spouses who will be separated much longer, or maybe they would have been anyway, but now they can see the math in it that their wait that's already been 2 to 3 years, maybe several more months, or even a couple more years. It's very distressing. So that's the Chart A big news on the visa bulletin. Scroll down for DVs, because I know I always have some DV 2023 selectees that are joining. And that's the employment. It looks like hasn't moved too much. Wait, that's for April. We've already seen that last month, right? And this is for the cutoffs for May, and it's moved a little bit. Yeah. So if you have an Africa case number, for example, and it is under 60,000, then your case is current in the visa bulletin, and the visa bulletin is not an obstacle unless you are chargeable to Algeria, Egypt, or Morocco. That you're a native of one of those three countries, and then your number has to be under these numbers to be able to get an interview for May. Also, if you are a DV 2023 selectee and you are located inside the U.S., I hope you are talking to an immigration attorney, because there is a process for adjustment of status inside the U.S. when your case number is going to be current. But I really recommend people use immigration attorneys, because there's tricks about it. You have to send the fee to the Kentucky Consular Center, okay? And that's separate from the fees that you send to USCIS. So there's, it's not simple. I recommend legal representation. Even if it's not us, I recommend legal representation, okay? So that's the big news about the visa bulletin that I noted. There's other news in the visa bulletin that affects other categories. I'm just not seeing it at the moment because I just skimmed it. So the other thing I wanted to share, actually, as long as I'm sharing my screen and stuff, I will share that Morrison Urena now has a new website where we explain how an immigration petition works for a U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen can petition, of course, a spouse, parent, child, or sibling. And we have a nice little chart here on how to do that and what the categories are. These are preference categories, meaning they're not always U.S. citizens. F2A and F2B are spouses and children of green card holders, for example. So, and also we explain the process. So we do offer USCIS petition representation, where we help prepare and submit the petition and respond to requests for evidence. There we go. There's a link right there on the web page. Golnaz on our team did a really good job explaining how this process works. Maybe when people realize how complicated this process is, they'll understand why we encourage people to use legal representation, even if it's not us. Use legal representation, because most of the calls I receive, it feels like, are people that didn't use legal representation and now they've got a real problem. And I want people to avoid that, to stop doing that. Just use an attorney to begin with. Then everything's so much better. Okay. Other developments this week in our asylum seeker case. That's Asylum Seekers versus Johnson on behalf of the ICE detainees who were victims of ICE's data breach. The government has asked for an extension that would allow them to drag the case out a little bit more. They're saying they don't want to brief the motion for class certification that we filed until they have a chance to file a motion to dismiss. Here's the docket entries on our website. And so they filed this motion, and it was pretty intense because they actually provide details about some of our plaintiffs that, when you take those details and add them to the details that we have, make it more easier for a persecutor to determine who our plaintiffs are. They were not supposed to add personal information into the briefings. So I'm limited on what I can say here because I don't want to identify who our plaintiffs are, because they are at risk of deportation and being murdered. So I'm not comfortable talking more about that. I will just say that the government attorneys in this case are making a grave mistake in thinking that they can get away with violating the privacy of immigrant plaintiffs who are suing the government for violating their privacy. I mean, like, it's not going to be hard for me to convince the judge that they're violating the plaintiff's privacy if they're doing it in real time in front of the judge, right? So I think we have a really strong case here, but I think that the government seems to be interested in making it a stronger case for us. I don't know why, but I wish they wouldn't, because we really, really, really want our plaintiffs' identities not to be public in that case. Okay. Okay, government, please, if you're listening, please be more careful. What else do I have to talk about? We did get some press in that case. Law 360, which no one really reads, I guess, except attorneys. But they did an article on our reaction to the government's attempt for an extension. And I'll read my quote because I'm so smart. That was a joke, okay? Defendants should not be rewarded for their suggestion that they could evade accountability because of a few of the victims of their conduct have a criminal history. That's shameful. It's not the victim's conduct, but ICE's conduct that is the issue in this case. So I'm surprised that there's not more press about that case, actually, because you have vulnerable migrants seeking asylum to the U.S. ICE violates their privacy. ICE violates their privacy again, and then we sue, and then ICE violates their privacy again. I mean, it's like, at some point, the media needs to understand that Biden is not pro-immigrant. I know we'll never convince the Republicans of this, but I don't know what they need to be convinced. I really don't. Do I have updates in any other cases? Gosh, we have so much going on. I do not have any updates. I probably should, but I just didn't make notes before this meeting. So let me skip into questions and see what we could talk about there. James says, good evening. Good evening, James. Anne says, hi, Mr. Morrison, everyone else, DV 2021, just a question. If a DV winner crosses the U, okay, that's part of a question. Let me see if the rest of it's here. If the DV winner crosses the border for refugee status and they do not get through with their green card, will they lose their green card? I feel like I'm almost understanding this question, but not quite. Refugee status usually doesn't happen at the border. I think you're thinking of seeking asylum. Asylee status. Refugees is through the UNHCR, and it's a process that does happen abroad where seeking asylum does happen within the U.S. or at a port of entry. So if you were saying asylum status, get through with their green card. If you're seeking asylum to the U.S., that is not a quick way to get a green card. Okay, it's a path, but it's not quick. So I would expect that. I would expect that the DV litigation is wrapped up and we have closure on that one way or the other before a current asylum seeker would be done with that path. But I will say this, happens a lot actually right now with Russians. If you show up at the US border and you're a good luck plaintiff or a Gomez class member, but you decide you want to seek asylum and you're going that path and you're coming inside the US, you probably are ending your DV journey. And the reason I say that is because multiple reasons. One is we do not know if the USCIS, which is part of Department of Homeland Security, not State Department, will allow for DVs to use, for reserved visas from Good Luck or Gomez, to use adjustment of status process. They may say, no, you have to go back to the embassy. Well, that's a problem because if you're seeking asylum, you don't supposed to leave the U.S. without permission. You have to get advanced parole. And so it's possible, but you'd need to be working on that now. So it's a very complicated situation for Good Luck and Gomez, Good Luck plaintiffs, Gomez class members to be seeking asylum in the U.S. and doing both routes. It's almost like once you decide on, hey, I'm going to seek asylum, it's unlikely that the DV process would work out for you. There are other reasons that involve the whether or not you have lawful status and stuff like that when you're seeking asylum. But I hope that's been helpful. Okay, Patrick says he's F2A and his priority date is May of 2021. So remember, I mentioned that the visa bulletin has retrogressed. Okay, so let's look at that for a second. Again. So for 2023, he's F2A, his priority date's May 2021. I have no idea what country he's at. It's one of these countries on Earth, on the world. But no matter what country it is, well, wait, no, May of 2021. Yeah, no matter what country it is, that petition is not current. So he can't be issued a visa right now. Not a visa in that category. I'm sorry, Patrick, but I understand why you're not happy. Actually, those are the happy emojis. I think you used the wrong emojis. Unless you, I don't know. Okay. This question is in French. I can speak French, but not understand it. Mon Dieu, news, Avon. If one of my team wants to translate that. We are tired. I get that part. My God, we have a good vote for justice. I don't know. I don't know if French good enough to know exactly what your question is. So maybe there's not a question. I don't know. Handy says, is that Title 42, which lifted in next 11 May 2023, affects the time of the court's decision about 2020 and 2021 cases? Good question, Handy. The answer is no. Completely unrelated. Mohammed says, DV 2020, what is the habit? Habit is not the best word, English word for what you're asking. I think you mean, what is the situation? We're waiting on the outcome of the appeal from the Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. That is the situation. We're running out of questions. Get your questions in, or I want to end early. Okay. James says, no improvement. Every time, same story, different day. I'm getting impatient, but I trust in God. Okay. Thank you for, I think it is valid to get impatient, but there's nothing, but it doesn't serve a purpose, you know? I get impatient too, but it doesn't cause anything to happen. So really we have to keep our patience. Translation of the JL's French one was, my God, we need your justice. We are tired. Actually, I'm assuming that you are DV 2020 client or DV 2021 client. And in either of those situations, it's not my justice that you need. It's the court's justice, okay? And so we're waiting on the court. There's some people out there that misunderstand how the legal system works, and they think that I'm holding up this process, and I'm not holding up this process. We are waiting on the court. That's not the court's fault, because the Biden administration is appealing the victories that we won before the district court, but it is the court that we're waiting on. You're not waiting on me, okay? Sela is a good luck plaintiff. Hello. Hopefully we win the appeal. I hope so too. Are the plaintiff's cases already at the embassy? Wonderful question, Salah. The government filed a declaration last year with Judge Mehta, I think with Judge Chutkan as well, reporting that they had deployed DV cases to the embassies. However, they were squirrely and non-responsive when I tried to say, what about the embassies that were closed? What about Moscow? What about the Havana and Kabul? Where did those cases go? Kiev. They wouldn't answer me. It was a very frustrating email thread with a bunch of attorneys, and the government was basically, they just don't show any dignity to immigrants or the attorneys who represent them. It can be very frustrating for me, for you, for us. So the answer to the question, are the plaintiff's cases already at the embassies? Generally, for the Gomez cases for DV 2020, yes. For Good Luck, here's the thing. That order that they give the update on IT was about DV 2020 and not DV 2021. And the number that they give of the number of cases they deployed to embassies just did not make sense. I don't know where they got that number. So I don't know if they've deployed the Good Luck cases to embassies or not. I guarantee you the government attorneys don't know either. We have received some Freedom of Information Act request productions. What that means is we've asked the government to provide us some emails, internal emails, through an act of Congress that was passed during the Johnson administration, gave us the ability to do this, and we actually sued to get them to do it quickly. And we post all those on our website. Actually, I'll show you that real fast because I love sharing my screen, as everybody here knows. If you go to morrisonurena.com, you go over to more and you go to FOIA production right there. Here is where we share the Freedom of Information Act request that we where we get production on. I think we filed like 12 of these, and here's production on 7 of them. I don't know where this is at, so if I start looking for it, I probably won't find it. But yeah, I won't find it. But what I was going to say is, in one of those FOIA productions, there was a suggestion that the cases that they deployed to the embassies did not include DV 2021. Maybe they weren't looking to do that until we win summary judgment. That being said, they know how to do it, so it won't take as long. So, Dr. Usama says, hello, Mr. Morrison, Ramadan Kareem. We wish you a good life. Thank you very much, Ramadan Kareem. And happy Nowruz to my Persian viewer. Here we go. Hi, Mr. Morrison. Let's assume that we won. How will we spread the visas? Good luck 2021. Great question. We will not spread the visas. Only a consular officer can issue a visa. Okay. So the Department of State will play a huge role in who gets a visa and who doesn't. Now, you mentioned GL, meaning good luck. As you know, there are only 6,914 visas reserved by Judge Mehta in the Good Luck case. There's a chance in the summary judgment briefing, we've asked him to increase that to up to 10,000. Don't know if he will do it. We made compelling arguments of why he should. But even if that happens, there are going to be many Good Luck plaintiffs who are not issued visas. So I understand your question. How will they decide who? I think if you want to do everything you can to make sure that you have the best chance of being one of the good luck plaintiffs that get visas, something you can work on now. Everybody needs a passport that's got 6 months of validity. So if your passport is expiring in the next year, go get a new passport right now. Second thing, mobility. Mobility is huge. What that means is your ability to travel to another country that has a U.S. embassy that is functioning properly. This is particularly important if you are located in a country without a U.S. embassy. If you are an Afghan and you are living in Kabul, there's no U.S. embassy there and no plans to return a U.S. embassy there. So you need to do everything you can to try to get out of Afghanistan or obtain a visa to be able to leave in the event interviews do happen. Similarly, if you are at an embassy known for being very slow recently, like Addis Ababa or Khartoum, it would be a good idea to be able to have a visa and some money set aside to where you could enter another country and take your interview at a U.S. embassy in another country. Now, I don't know that that will be an option, but there's no harm in planning for that. And that way you'll be in a position, you'll be prepared. Okay. I was a Boy Scout and they always said, be prepared. So anyway, that's all I can say is just be prepared. We don't know the answer yet. Jati says hello. Hello, Jati. Celia said, seen some of the FOIAs, some of the discoveries would make a good case in the appeals. Once you have the FOIA discoveries, do you forward the same to the Court of Appeals? I agree with you on that there are some crazy discoveries there. The one that comes to mind is how Kentucky Consular Center decided that it would be easier just not to answer inquiries from DV selectees and ignore them and let them talk to their lawyers. Thank you, KCC. Those sort of communications, I think, make them look really bad, but they're not directly relevant to the issues in the appeals. The issues in the appeals are like 4 to 6 issues, and that doesn't pertain to one of them. However, this information will keep the government honest in moving forward. Okay, so there'll be a little briefing here and there about if we win the appeal or if we lose and it's appealed again. There'll be more briefing, and in that briefing, we can expect the government will. Now they know that what we know, they'll be less likely to misrepresent because we can bring it to the judge's attention. So the FOIA discoveries do have value. We're not asked what exactly USA Department is gaining to go for appeal. Okay, that's a great question. You're asking why Secretary Blinken and the Department of State and the Biden administration is appealing our victories before Judge Mehta and Judge Chutkan for DV 2020 and DV 2021 selectees. And it's not as easy to explain as I'd hope. Basically, under the Trump administration, the State Department bureaucrats were able to get new authorities to do things they always wanted to do. Okay, like throttle immigration, like decide who comes and who goes at a higher level than at the consulate level. And once someone has power, it's hard to take it away from them. And specifically in this case, whether or not a president's proclamation that limits entry into the U.S., if the State Department can misinterpret it rather, to be that means that nobody can get visas into the U.S. The State Department wants to be able to get away with that. They want to be able to. Congress said the law is this. The State Department says, no, it would work better if the law was that. And their interest is convincing the court that Congress may have said this, but they meant that. It amazes me that this case has gone on that long when you think of it that simple. Congress said the law is this, the State Department said it's that, and the State Department's being stubborn about it, right? So anyway, what they're trying to gain is they're just trying to keep their power. And what drives me nuts is this is the Biden administration trying to keep that power for the executive branch that they will probably lose at the election to Donald Trump again or Ron DeSantis out of Florida, who will abuse that power and use it to foreclose immigration. And then they'll blame it on Trump and DeSantis when Biden gave them the tool to do it. So, Joe Biden, if you're watching, stop it. I know you're not watching, so I tried. Mohammed says, any update on BA? BA. Bank of America? I'm not sure what BA is. Naveed versus Blinken. Okay. No, I do not have an update on Naveed versus Blinken. The government's motion to dismiss is fully briefed. Let me think about that. They wrote a motion. We opposed it. They filed a reply. So no, I do not have an update. Waiting for the judge on that one. Okay. Handy says, from April 16th, 2022 to April 16th, 2023, it's an odd year, we are now a full year away from the appeal. Perhaps the month of Ramadan will be the month of joy. I hope so. That would be wonderful if it was. Soleil is a good luck plaintiff. Hopefully we will get a positive decision from the appeal. Good luck has to go back to Judge Mehta for final ruling. Exactly. Summary judgment. You understand. How long do you think it will take to issue visas after Judge Mehta's final ruling? I'm scared to guess. I know that the United States government, when they want to do something, they can make it happen. We put people on the moon. I think that the problem is, even if we beat the appeal, how motivated will the State Department be to move on and get this over with? I don't think that it's going to be a priority for them unless the judge orders it. So I think, I don't know. My guess is they're going to drag it out for 6 to 8 months after we win summary judgment. That's my guess. They shouldn't have to. I mean, it's only 6,000. Well, if you count Gomez, Good Luck Go, altogether, Ray, you're talking 20,000 visas. They could do that tomorrow. Or, well, they could get it done by Friday, you know? So, I mean, you've got 200 consulates, thousands of employees. So they could get it done really quickly, but it's not their priority. So I think that they'll probably drag it out 6-7 months. That's my guess. Okay, thanks everybody for some great questions today. I want to end early because we got a ton of stuff going on. If you have any questions about anything I talked to about today or about any immigration matter whatsoever, you can always email us at info@morrisonurena.com and we'll do what we can to help you. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.